This is a fan-generated show. If you would like to support us, please go to jamieglazov.com, and also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. All your support is greatly appreciated.
Good evening. This is another Daniel Greenfield moment on the Glazov Gang. I'm going to talk tonight about the latest Islamic terrorist attack. New York City, particularly downtown Manhattan, has been targeted by Islamic terrorists over and over again, and it's the place where they've had the most luck. If you actually look around, the place where the terrorist struck was off the West Side Highway. He began on Houston Street. He went all the way down to Chambers Street. Just a few weeks ago, I was in New York City. I was there in that area. And when you're in New York City, you're always aware that there's a kind of vulnerability there, that this is the #1 target of the terrorists in North America. They've struck in other places. Obviously, they will go on striking in other places. But New York City for them and for the world is a kind of a symbol. It's a place that embodies a kind of American strength. President Trump came from New York. Really, both candidates from the previous presidential election we're going to have their victory parties. We're going to certainly at least had their kind of bases in New York City. And for the terrorists, it's the Statue of Liberty. It's where the Twin Towers once were. It's the Empire State Building. And out of those, terrorists at one point did plot to blow up the Statue of Liberty. They obviously destroyed the Twin Towers, and we have not rebuilt them. But the Islamic terrorists opened fire at one point on the Empire State Building. So New York City is very much at the center of the terrorist efforts to kill as many Americans as they can. And it's a tribute to the NYPD that such attacks have been averted in the past. But to do that, the NYPD uses tactics that the left really hates. Tactic #1 is they monitor mosques. Tactic #2 is they use informants. They send informants into mosques. And the left hates these tactics very well because they work. Because they actually stop terrorist attacks. And every time the NYPD has stopped a terrorist attack, the left would begin its mantra. This guy was an innocent victim. He had a low IQ. He was mentally ill. He was easily manipulatable. And he's not really guilty. It's the NYPD that invented this plot. And this entire plot would not exist if it wasn't for the NYPD. Now, the left does this with Islamic terrorists every time a plot is intercepted and broken up. If the FBI uses informants, if it uses an inside man in the plot, then obviously it's entrapment. But as today's attack reminds us once again, it's not entrapment. This is what Islamic terrorists want to do. This is what they do if they get the chance. And the latest attack carries strong echoes of September 11th. The Islamic terrorist in the attack reportedly rented his truck, the truck that he used to kill 8 people, in Jersey City. Now, for those of you who have made any kind of a study of Islamic terrorism or remember past attacks, Jersey City was the place where the van that was used for the original attack on the World Trade Center, the original World Trade Center bombing, that was where that was where the van was rented. And Jersey City, again, was where Muslims celebrated when the attacks actually happened. They were able to look over, they were able to see the towers falling, and they were able to celebrate in public. And the media tried to lie to us and told us it never happened. And of course, accounts emerged that told us this very well happened. There were people who remembered, not everyone had forgotten. At one point, the terrorist who carried out the attack listed a Patterson address. Patterson is known as Patterstein because of its basically Palestinian and generally pro-terrorist population. You have the PLO terrorist flag flying over City Hall. And of course, in Patterson also, there were celebrations when 9/11 happened. And 6 of the hijackers at one point lived in Patterson, New Jersey. So there are these echoes of September 11th, and all these are reminders that we really have completely failed to clean up Islamic terrorism. Not only haven't we learned anything from September 11th, we haven't even done anything about the major trigger points, the source spots in New Jersey that produced them. And now here we have this again. We have a terrorist who was living in Patterson at one point, who entered a truck in Jersey City and carried out an attack. These are pretty close echoes of the original attacks. The original cell was partly based out of Jersey City. The 9/11 cell was partly based out of Patterson. The original bombing van was rented in Jersey City. So there are close echoes here. Question is, why have we not gotten any better at stopping it? And the answer basically is that the media and the left have been doing an absolutely excellent job of sabotaging any efforts to stop it. And this is something that's been going on. If you've been following the news also, the ACLU and various other lawfare pro-terrorist organizations were very effective in crippling the NYPD's intelligence and information gathering. The NYPD was forced to sign all sorts of agreements, and that would basically cripple its ability to monitor mosques, to send in informants, to monitor Islamic terrorists by profiling their likely locations, which are Islamic. Of course, they're not supposed to do that because, of course, we all know that Islamic terrorism has nothing to do with Islam. And if you doubt that, when the latest terrorist rammed into a school bus and got out, he was shouting Allahu Akbar, which, of course, has absolutely nothing to do with Islam or terrorism, as the media will be shortly happy to tell you. Now, over in New York, of course, Mayor Bill de Blasio called it a cowardly act. It's not a cowardly act. It's murderous, it's vicious, it's treacherous, it's all those things, but it's not cowardly. If you actually go out there and try to kill people, you're not a coward. On the other hand, if you shut down the NYPD and destroy the people who are actually trying to protect us because you choose political correctness over human life, then you are a coward. And you're a coward because you won't admit it. Because you won't go out there in front of the cameras and say that I prefer to soothe Muslim feelings over protecting American lives. Bill de Blasio is not going to do that. Instead, we get all the whole, we're stronger than this. We should get back to living our lives. And these are just some cowardly, sick, confused people, and we should pay no attention to them, even while they're running us over. The reality is that the left has blood in its hands. And with this attack, it's hard to think of a more graphic example of having blood in its hands, because the left has been doing everything over the past 4 years to shut down the NYPD's counterterrorism. The media had declared war on the NYPD's counterterrorism. Federal judges, political activists, lawyers have been battling away to shut down the NYPD's ability to stop attacks like this one. And now they've succeeded. And they should be very proud of themselves. The dead bodies, the wounded people, the wounded children, the people who have tire tracks cutting across them and cutting off their feet, that is due to the left. It's due to the ACLU. It's due to Bill de Blasio. It's due to the Obama administration. They did this. They earned this, and they should be very proud of themselves. They should be as proud of themselves as ISIS is today for carrying out yet another terrorist attack and for killing more Americans. Now, forgive me if I'm angry. I am, after all, a New Yorker. These are places I know and love very well. And when I see what happens here, it makes me angry. And it should make you angry too, whether you're from New York or from California, or from Montana, or from Iowa, wherever you're from. The fact that Muslim terrorists are able to operate with impunity, that they're still able to operate out of the same places where they've been operating through multiple terrorist attacks, through some of the biggest terrorist attacks in American history, for the World Trade Center bombing on September 11th, the fact that they're able to continue doing this is very much a tribute to the fact that we have no meaningful counterterrorism, that the counterterrorism that we should have has been badly crippled, that it's been diverted to checking people's shoes at airports, that it's been diverted into making sure that everybody is profiled equally. The reality is we can stop terrorist attacks, and we're trying to do that in some ways. The Muslim travel ban is one example of that, and the left will fight that. This will fight every single intelligent measure that will actually address the problem tooth and nail. Back when it was fighting the NYPD, it was insisting that profiling just makes terrorism worse. No, in fact, profiling stops terrorism. Refusing to profile makes terrorism worse. Today was another reminder of that. The question is, how many more reminders are we going to need? Americans have been lucky enough that we don't have the same scope of the situation as in the UK, as in Europe, because again, we do have better law enforcement, and we've been pretty good at actually stopping these attacks, and we've been good at stopping these attacks because we use informants, because we use profiling. We can't admit that we do those things, but in fact we do them. When you look at actually how terrorist attacks are broken up, quite a lot of the time they used informants. They used profiling. They used intelligence, common sense measures that work. And if we want people to live, if we don't want more attacks like this, then we have to use them too. That's the bottom line, and it's as simple as it bloody well gets. After every shooting spree, the left starts saying if you don't have gun control of some kind, then you want people to die. Well, guns don't shoot themselves. Trucks don't drive themselves and ram into school buses on their own. Muslim terrorists do that. And the left refuses to do anything about Muslim terrorists. Why? Because they want people to die. This has been another Greenfield moment on the Glazov Gang. If you found it worthwhile, please support the Glazov Gang and get in touch with your local counter-jihadist organization and find out what you can do to help.